What is fundamental analysis initially? So fundamental analysis, this involves the studying of the economy to determine the effect it has on the value of the currency. For example, we have the United States of America, which uses the United States dollar, so the USD. With fundamental analysis, there are certain aspects you have to look into, such as news reports. These can be categorized in such like unemployment, the GDP or gross domestic product, money supply, and inflation, and speeches as well. Speeches by very high-ranking individuals or organizations, such as the Bank of America itself. For the example, we're taking the United States dollar. So we are going to take the Bank of America itself, the speeches given by the actual head of that bank. If we take into account these main 5 aspects of this, is basically the core of fundamental analysis. So what we're saying is that anything that has to do with the United States of America in terms of news or reports is going to affect any currency pair with the United States dollar, whether it's to increase or decrease. Now we look into currency pairs of the fundamental analysis currency pairs. So for example, we've taken the GBP USD, which is the Great British Pound of in the United Kingdom, and we have the USD, United States dollar, of the United States of America. So if an economy is determined to be strong, then it is likely that the local currency will rise in value due to demand. It's simple. At the end of the day, currency pairs are simple. It's just demand, supply and demand. So economic reports can be used to determine how strong an economy is. And this could be weekly, monthly, quarterly, or whenever the reports come out. This will affect their currency pair. So the markets react to reports or news after a news release of a certain news report can be very volatile. So depending on the degree of the impact of the news, that's how to determine how fundamental analysis will affect that currency. Like how the market reacts to data or news release, the degree of impact of data or news can have little to no impact, as opposed to some data which will have huge amount of impact. With fundamental analysis, you have to take into account, in simple terms, we are just counting that currency's strength. That's all we're doing. We're counting that country's strength, and that country's strength will affect the currency. In simple terms, guys, that is the easiest way to explain it. Fundamental analysis is basically studying a country. So you're studying a country, how strong it will be depending on its news and its performance as a country. That will affect its currency. So for example, the United States dollar has more demand due to low employment rates or so forth, so it will probably be rising against the United Kingdom GBP as a currency. So it's that simple, guys. So let's look into how to trade fundamental analysis. We will take the annual GDP data released by the US Bureau of Economic Analysis, for example, this time. So we're trading the United States dollar. We're looking into the US's, we're doing fundamental analysis here. So we're taking into account the United States news reports, which is the GDP data released by the US Bureau of Economic Analysis, which shows the monetary value of all goods or services produced within a country within a year. So this indicates the price at which a country's economy is growing or decreasing. This is what we call high impact news, because this is annual data, guys. This will have high impact on that currency, which is the United States dollar that we're trading right now. A high or better than expected reading gives us positive data, leading to more of a bullish pattern. Or if it comes out as negative data than expected, then it comes out to a bearish pattern. Let's give a practical example. The actual data that comes out for the GDP report is, let's say, at 1%, and we forecasted it at 0%. So that's what we expected it to be at. So it is higher than expected. At the same time, it is a positive result. So at the end of the day, the market is going to react in a way that it will push up price of the United States dollar. So if we have, let's say, an example, the GBP USD, we are going to sell that, for example, because we know that the United States dollar is going to gain. So any currency pair with the United States dollar as a base currency, we are going to buy. And any currency pair with the United States dollar as a quote currency, we are going to sell. Easy as that, guys. So an alternative scenario, what if the actual data came out as a negative, which is less than the actual forecasted or expected result, which is minus 0.9%. So this will show a more bearish pattern that will prevail, which is expected. The actual data released was way less. You need to take note, if you are not very well versed into how to analyze data such as this, or trade fundamental analysis, I would actually discourage you from trading any currency pair with news data or reports to be released within that week, because it's very risky and it's very hard to gauge sometimes. If you're wondering where to get this market news, sometimes it's released on certain websites or the actual source itself. Sometimes if it's a speech, you can watch it on some of the news channels, it's available. But we have some apps, or we reviewed some of the websites that we use to trade fundamental analysis, and that's available on our website, in our blogs. You can see that. You can check those out and it might help you.